Now we see a turn of events in the play. Donna Laura and Don Gonzalo melts down. Donna Laura and Don Gonzalo are much more tolerant to each other. We find Don Gonzalo asking Donna Laura her permission whether he can read his book aloud. Donna Laura asks him to read as loud as he pleases and says that he would not disturb her. Don Gonzalo takes this book written by Campo Amor, a famous Spanish playwright and poet, and the book is 20 years past. He returns. Donna Laura also is seen to be totally involved in what he reads, and here Donna Laura contributes her comments as well on the lines he reads. Once again, Donna Laura brings up the point that she feels bothered to see him wearing two glasses to read, and Don Gonzalo asks her if she could read without glasses. Donna Laura says she could, and she asks him to pass the book he is reading, and she reads the lines of this book. And here Don Gonzalo is quite amazed by Donna Laura's keen eyesight, and for the very first time, we see him appreciating her eyesight, saying that I feel jealous of your eyesight, I envy your eyesight. Donna Laura, in fact, knew the lines of this book by heart. She was not reading, she was in fact reciting the lines she knew by heart. But she wanted to give an impression to Gonzalo that she has a keen eyesight. And slowly we find Gonzalo and Laura making conversations about poetry. Gonzalo opening up about himself. Gonzalo telling Laura that he is someone who used to compose poetry as a young boy. He is someone who is quite acquainted with many playwrights and poets of Spain, including Zorilla, Beccaria, Esperanceda, and Campo Amor. Don Gonzalo says to Laura that he met Zorilla in America, where Laura again tries to make fun of him, saying that he would have gone to America with Columbus long back in one of his caravels. Don Gonzalo do not feel insulted at this point. Don Gonzalo takes it in a very light mode, and he says that yes, I admit I'm old, but I am not as old as I knew Ferdinand and Isabella, who are the king and the queen who gave financial support for Columbus to discover America. Now we see Gonzalo and Laura having a great conversation ahead, and at one point Gonzalo says to Laura that he knew Campo Amor. He met Campo Amor, the poet whose book he is reading, and he met him in Valencia, the place of his birth, his native city. Valencia, the name of the city, in fact startles Don Gonzalo. In fact, startles Laura. Laura asks him, are you from Valencia? Gonzalo says he spent most of his childhood and youth in Valencia, and he asks Laura whether she knew Valencia. Laura says that she has spent many years of her youth, many seasons of her youth in a villa near Valencia, which is Marisela. The name of Marisela, in fact, rings a bell in Gonzalo. Gonzalo admits that he knew this place Marisela as the villa where he found one of the most beautiful women he has ever seen lived there. He says that he had met many beautiful women, but this woman was someone whom he recollects, and he is trying to recollect her name, and he says she was Laura Laurenti. This again startles Donna Laura. Donna Laura immediately says, you reminded me of my best friend, and she was known as the Silver Maiden in her locality. Gonzalo agrees to it, and Gonzalo starts narrating the beauty of Laura Laurenti, whom he knew in her youth. She was white as lily with jet black hair, who cast radiance wherever she went, and she was like a dream beauty. Donna Laura, in her mind, says, if Gonzalo knew the dream beauty which he talks about now is by his side, he would understand how dreams can change too. Donna Laura is none other than Laura Laurenti, whom Gonzalo is discussing about. But Donna Laura do not open up it to him.